Hello humans, Alison and Toni here, your favorite HR partners. We are here with another question of the week. This week we have a good one. It is, do I have to pay my employees for voluntary trainings?
Voluntary trainings.
Yes, let's make sure we're specifying that first. There is a difference between trainings that you are requiring as part of their employment versus things that they're voluntarily taking on their voluntarily deciding they want to sign up for.
Yeah. So the first thing to know is New Hampshire specifically has a mandate for what can and cannot be charged when it doesn't come voluntary. And I'm going to say it because we're going to use the word voluntary a million times during this video. If you require your employee to have a pre-employment drug screen.
Not voluntary.
If you have to have your employee do any kind of drug screen during their work.
Not voluntary.
If you have to have them do a medical exam.
Not voluntary.
If you have to ask them for a background check.
Not voluntary.
Any other kind of requirement of employment. Requirement of employment. Not voluntary.
Not voluntary.
You as the employer have to pay for that. 100%. However, there are certain things you don't have to pay for.
You do have to pay for.
You do have to pay for.
If they're doing it during time.
You're right.
If they're doing voluntary trainings during work hours, it would be something you need to compensate them for. So an example of that would be maybe they're doing a webinar training. So they're wanting to get some credits, with HR, we have to have certain certifications, and maybe it's a certification for a class that they're taking for a certification. Then if they're doing it during work hours, you would be compensating their time. Let's say they sign up for one that's on Saturday. It's not a normal working day for them. It's, again, completely voluntary. You don't require them to have this certification or require them to take this course. You would not need to pay for it.
Absolutely. Voluntary.
Voluntary.
Yeah.
What's also something that you would not have to pay for is if they're required to have any licenses or any certifications in order to have their position or their profession. An example of this would be a gas license for an HVAC technician or a electrician's license. Any of the schooling associated with that, because it's a certification required by the government, then it would not be something you have to pay for unless they're doing it during work hours. So if you're having them go and take the courses and take the class or take the trainings during work hours to get that certification or license, then it would be something you would have to pay for.
Now, what if I'm taking voluntary training at the end of my day? It's 5:30. I go home. I want to take it. It's not required, but it would absolutely help my job.
I don't have to pay you.
Are you sure?
Yes, because it's
voluntary. Absolutely. We get this question all the time about training. As we said, if it's during work time, have to pay. You basically have to pay for everything that's done working during work time. Mm-hmm. But if it's after work and it's voluntary, the answer is no. You do not have to pay for it unless it's a requirement of the job, which then makes it not
voluntary. However, the exception to that is if it's a requirement,
correct,
including the examinations, permits, and licenses required by the state or federal government.
Yep.
Even though it's a requirement of their position, because obviously you can't have a licensed electrician that's not licensed. While it's a requirement of the federal or state government, then you would not have to pay for it if it's after hours.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so your friends can be as smart as you are.